Hello my friends and welcome to the 10th class in our writing course. Today my friends, and after we started talking about complex sentences in the 9th class, and before that we had started talking about sentences, and we said that a sentence could be one word or a group of words containing a subject and its verb together, and then we classified sentences into three types. And the first type was called simple sentence, which is made up of one independent clause, whether the second type was called compound sentences, and the compound sentence is made up of two or more independent clauses. Then in the 9th class, we started talking about complex sentence, and we said that a complex sentence is made up of one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. And before we started talking about complex sentences and going through them and dissect them into depth, we had decided to take a quick revision about clauses, and we had a comparison between independent clauses and dependent clauses. And we said that an independent clause is a group of words that contain a subject and its verb, and it's semantically complete, can stand alone as a simple sentence when I add period to it, and it conveys a full message. And again, my friends, we said that the most important feature which distinguish the independent clause is that the independent clause always starts with the subject, which is one or more the noun phrases. Then, my friends, we talked about dependent clauses, and we said that a dependent clause is a group of words containing a subject and its verb together, but this group of words is semantically incomplete and starts with a subordinating conjunction, and it needs another clause in order to clarify it, and this clause should be independent, as we said before. And we said that if we use a dependent clause with a period as a sentence, this is going to be a writing error, which is called the fragments. So be careful, my friends, and don't use a dependent clause as a sentence alone. And now, my friends, after we have finished talking about dependent and independent clauses, we talked in the 9th class about three types of complex sentences, because we have three types of dependent clauses. The first type is called complex sentences with dependent adverb clauses, and we said that we have three types of them. The first one is to tell why, second one to tell when and where, and third one to give or to introduce contradicting information. Today, my friends, in this class, we are going to carry on talking about types of complex sentences, and we are going to go through the second type, which is complex sentences with adjective clauses. So, my friends, today is going to be considered as part 2 of 9th class. Now, my friends, let's start talking about complex sentences with adjective clauses. First of all, my friends, what is an adjective clause? In here, my friends, you can see two words, adjective and the clause. If we define a clause, as you all know, a clause is a group of words containing a subject and its verb together, or a verb with its subject together. Both definitions are correct. And here we have extra word, which is adjective. And as you know, an adjective describes a noun or a situation. In here, my friends, an adjective clause is a group of words that, number one, modifies or describes a noun or a situation also, as we said before. And number two, comes after the noun. Generally, an adjective comes before the noun, but when the adjective becomes a clause and it becomes an adjective clause, always the adjective clause comes after the noun. Third property, my friend, is that dependent clause, and the third feature, my friend, is that an adjective clause begins with the words like who, whom, which, that, among others, we are going to discuss later. Now, my friends, allow me to start talking about the two types of adjective clauses. Generally, my friends, adjective clauses are classified into two main types of clauses. The first one is called the restrictive or defining adjective clause. The restrictive or defining adjective clause, my friends, has four main features. The first one is that without this clause, the described noun is not known, which means if you use this dependent adjective clause in a sentence to modify or to define a noun, and you delete this clause, the noun which is defined or modified with this clause is not going to be known anymore. So it expresses information that defines the described noun, and without it, the noun which is being modified or which is being described is unknown and nobody can know it by itself. Number three, cannot be deleted. Again, my friends, because if we deleted it, we would not understand or we would not recognize the noun described. So if you want to describe a noun which is not known for a lot of people, you should define it or you should modify it using a restrictive defining clause, because without it or without this clause, the noun is going to be unknown and unrecognized. The last feature here, my friend, it is not separated with commas. This is a punctuation note, and we are going to see it in the upcoming examples here. Just give me some minutes to finish the theoretical part, then we are going to go through the practical part, and we will discuss all of these features together. Now, what about the non-restrictive or non-defining adjective clause? Also, this one, from its name, you should know that with or without it, with or without the non-restrictive or non-defining clause, the described noun is, again, my friend, it describes or it expresses extra information about the described noun that is not needed to define the described noun. So without it, the described noun is known for everyone and it only gives extra information about it. Number three, it can be easily deleted, as you see now here, my friend, and as you understand from these two features, as long as the non-restrictive or non-defining adjective clause gives extra information which is not needed to define or to modify or to make this noun described or to make this described noun known to people, so it is easy to be deleted and we don't need it. And here, my friends, for the fourth feature, and contrary to the restrictive or defining adjective clause, which is not separated with commas, as you see here, the non-restrictive or non-defining adjective clause is separated with commas. And again, my friends, this is what we are going to see discussing the examples here. Now, my friends, after we have finished talking about the theoretical part of the adjective clauses, allow me to take you to the practical one. In the practical part, my friend, we are going to try to apply this information and to make complex sentences using adjective clauses, whether they are restrictive or non-restrictive. And here, my friends, let's start with the first example. In here, we have this question: Donald Trump lives in New York. The second sentence, Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America. And here, my friends, if I want to make these two sentences one complex sentence, I have two options. The first option is to say Donald Trump, let me change the color, Donald Trump, who is the president of the United States of America, lives in New York. And here, my friends, I use the first simple sentence as the main sentence, Donald Trump lives in New York, and then I use the second sentence to make a description for the noun, and I transfer it into a dependent adjective clause. How to change it into a dependent adjective clause? All I need, my friends, is to delete the word Donald Trump or the name because it's repeated and I'm describing it, and I use this pronoun. I say Donald Trump, who is the President of the United States, lives in New York. Again, my friends, I can change the order here, my friends, and make the dependent clause independent and the independent dependent, and vice versa. My friends, here I use Donald Trump. I use this one. He is the President of the United States, and I choose this, let's say, independent clause to make it dependent, and I just delete the name Donald Trump. I write who lives in New York, is the President of the United States. Again, my friends, a lot of students ask me, teacher, why using these two commas? Why separating the dependent clause with two commas? Again, my friends, because it's non-restrictive or non-defining. How did I know? I know comparing it to the properties with or without it, the described nouns here, which is Donald Trump is known. It expresses extra information about Donald Trump and can be easily deleted. That's why it should be separated by commas. So my friends, if I delete now, I delete here, who is the President of the United States, Donald Trump is going to be known for everyone still because he is a famous character. Again, my friends, here, Donald Trump, who lives in New York, is the President of the United States of America. We have only one President of the United States who is famous. That's why I can delete this dependent clause because it gives extra information. And again, my friend, it is adjective clause. Why? Because it modifies or gives extra information about the described noun, which is Donald Trump here. And the second example, my friend, here, we have Tom Johnson died last week. And we have here the second independent clause or the second simple sentence. It is simple sentence because it is used with a full stop. Here we have two independent clauses with full stops. That's why we can call them two simple sentences. We start here, Tom Johnson died last week. And then here we have Tom Johnson, who is a former World War II warrior. And here, my friends, of course, I have two options. The first one is to make the, let's say, the main sentence. The first one, Tom Johnson died last week. Then I use the second sentence and I make it a dependent clause in order to modify the noun. And here, my friends, we say Tom Johnson, who is a former World War II warrior, died last week. Or the second option here, my friends, is to use the second independent clause or the second simple sentence as the main sentence, and I transfer the first one to make it an adjective clause, and I write it here in the middle. And how, again, my friends, how to change it into a dependent clause? I need just to delete the name as I deleted it here before, and I made it a dependent clause. And here, my friends, I made it a dependent clause, deleting the subject and replacing it with the correct pronoun. What is the correct pronoun, my friends? For example, we use who for people, to describe people when they are subjects. Again, my friend, here, the word Tom is a subject in both sentences. We use whom when it is, and we use whom, my friends, when the person described is an object. We use which to describe things. We use that and to describe things also, or to describe people. We're going to discuss them one by one in the next class. And here, my friends, allow me to finish this class. Then we are going to discuss them. Then we are going to discuss them thoroughly. And here, my friends, we say Tom Johnson, who died last week, was a former World War II warrior. And here, my friends, those are adjective clauses because they describe the same person, who is Tom Johnson. What type of adjective clauses are those? Generally, my friends, those are restrictive or defining. because they matches the conditions and the definition of a restrictive or defining adjective clause. The first one, without it or without this clause, who is a former World War II warrior. Tom Johnson is not known by anyone. Number two, expresses information that defines the described noun. Again, my friends, if we delete them, we cannot recognize who Tom Johnson is. And then those cannot be deleted again, because if we delete them, we will not understand or we will not recognize who Tom Johnson is. And here, my friends, we don't separate them with commas because they are defining or restrictive defining clauses. Again, my friends, I know this class is a little bit difficult, little bit confusing. Just try to replay the video again and try to find some other resources to read from the internet and keep going. Don't give up. Again, my friends, here, the third example, I know the teacher. You were talking to the teacher. In here, my friends, I would like to describe the teacher. The teacher, he's my friend, is an object in both sentences. So I have only one option. I say here, I know the teacher whom you were talking to. How to make the independent clause, or how to make this simple sentence as a dependent clause to describe the teacher. It's very easy. First of all, I delete the repeated noun, which is the teacher or the object, and I write the whole sentence here, and then I replace it with the word whom, but at the beginning of the dependent clause. And here, my friends, I know the teacher whom you were talking to. We can say in another option, for example, you were talking to the teacher. And here, my friends, I say whom. I know. In here, my friends, I am using this sentence, this independent clause or this simple sentence as the main sentence, and I choose the first one to be transferred into the adjective dependent clause. And here, my friends, I only delete the word the teacher and I replace it with the word whom at the beginning of the dependent clause. Then here, my friends, you were talking to the teacher whom I know. Both options, my friends, here are accepted. You can choose the one that suits you. Again, my friends, here, the fourth example. In the fourth example, we read, the Central Park is my favorite place. This is the first independent clause or the first simple sentence, because here it is ended with a full stop. The second one, I had my first date with my wife in the Central Park. In here, my friends, of course, we have also two options. The first one is to make the first independent clause or the first simple sentence as the main sentence. I hear the Central Park is my favorite place. Then I take the second independent clause or the second simple sentence and I transfer it into a dependent clause, specifically adjective dependent clause, in order to describe the Central Park. In here, my friends, I say the Central Park where, and here, my friends, I use the word where, where, or when. I use the word where to describe places. The Central Park, of course, is a place. I say the Central Park where I had my first date with my wife is my favorite place. I finish this sentence with a full stop. Now it's a complex sentence. It was two simple sentences and I combined them into one complex sentence. The second option is to take the second simple sentence or the second dependent clause as the main sentence, and then I transfer the first one into an adjective dependent clause, and I say I had my first date with my wife in the Central Park. And here, my friends, I carry on here, which is my favorite place. Again, my friends, how can I distinguish between where and which? In the next class, my friends, I will describe the difference between which and where and how to use each in the appropriate context. And example number 5, my friend, the best day in history is the 13th of October, 1999. This is the first simple sentence or independent clause. The second one, my wife was born on the 13th of October, 1999. Again, my friends, here I have two options. The first one is to use the first simple sentence as the main sentence in here. Then I carry on with the second one as a adjective dependent clause. Of course, I say the best day in history is on 13th of October 1999 when, again, my friends, I am describing the day 13th of October. For example, it was Monday, Tuesday, but I'm describing a day specific. I'm describing a specific day here, my friends. That's why I use when. We carry on transferring the independent clause into a dependent one so that I combined these two simple sentences inside one complex sentence. The last or the second option here, my friends, is that to use the second simple sentence as the main sentence here. Then, my friends, I transfer the first independent clause, or what is now a simple sentence, into an adjective dependent clause, and I say my wife was born on the 13th of October 1999, which is the best day in history. Again, my friends, we use the word which to replace when or where, and sometimes that. In the next class, my friends, we are going to discuss which and how to use it to replace when and where and that, because I don't want to confuse you and overload you with information. That's it for today, my friends. I think this is enough. We have been talking for so long. Thank you for watching this video, my friends. Again, if you don't understand the point, try to replay this video again and play some Kahoot games which are related to our topic today: dependent adjective clauses or complex sentences with dependent adjective clauses. Again, my friends, from now on, the classes are getting harder. So please, my friends, try to get a pen and a paper and take some notes, write some examples, and get in touch with me if you need any help. Again, my friends, start studying from now, because if you want to be professional in writing, this is a good chance for you, and I am here offering you a good opportunity. Thank you again, my friends, and goodbye in the upcoming class.